Local historian Kevin Thorpe paid a visit some years ago to Lambay Island, where he met Rupert Baring. Rupert Baring was the son of Cecil and Lorillard Baring, and Cecil had bought the island as a wedding present for his new wife.
This woman her name was Lorillard, Lorillard. That was her maiden name, and she lived very happily there. They had a son then called Rupert. Their son was Rupert, and Rupert was sent off, as they all are, to English public school, got educated and all that. A real English gentleman, and he's the man that I knew, the old man. He was old when I knew him in the 70s. I know that he liked the drink, because we went over in the Shamrock, and one of the things being brought over was a crate of whisky, and he was smelling of whisky. He was when I met him, he'd be what you call a fire hazard. Don't strike a match, you know. Now that's exaggerating, and it's a very nice man. He had a suit on, tweed suit. He brought me into the house, showed me around, showed me big wooden tables, all the stuff. By the way, he had married an English society lady who went off and left him, I think, in the 40s, went off with somebody else. And he became a sort of recluse because of it, like a monk. And now, apart from this bottle, which was his friend, without him speaking at all, he radiated being a gentleman in the same way I'm not. I wasn't brought up, but the way he would do things, and he would be very and how he'd open the door or so and so, this sort of thing. He had grey hair, brushed back. As far the reason I went to see him was he sent a message via Basil Leonard, who was the boatman, for me to go over to see him, because he'd heard I was doing an article on the Tailor, and he had an original copy of the Illustrated London News for 1854 with the picture on the front, showed the ship and the people going off the rope onto the rocks and all that. A real gentleman. And actually, he didn't offer me a glass of whiskey. So must have been keeping it all for himself. But I was about an hour with him, and he showed me around the garden and round the thing. He was very, very proud of the place. But there was a sadness about him, a great sadness, and you could see it. I didn't know. You see, I would have thought he'd have been zippity-doo-dah, you know, I'm a millionaire, a billionaire, 10 times over. This was before your man screwed him in Singapore, you know. This was a mere bauble, this island. It's probably all they've got left now. But a real gentleman, and you can talk to him about anything. Very, very highly educated. Oh, another thing, he wrote poems. He was a great poet. I don't have any copies of any of them. I've seen some that he wrote, the actual manuscript of them, that he wrote and gave to Basil's wife down at the square in Rush. And he used to have his own letter headings done like with raised print, embossed, that's the word. But it was like one of these things where, ting, the hour's up. I think his dinner was ready or something.